That's the John Wayne movie. This is one of my competitors. I say competitor. He's not really a competition because he doesn't do training and they don't do half the services that we provide. But he's got my videos on his YouTube channel, which is not a good idea for him because my videos lead people back to me. You know, he's using my videos to educate his clients, but his clients are learning about me in the process and reaching out to me to work with me.
John, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I got my DNA results back. How much was it to qualify as a minority or Indian Native American blood in you?
Most tribes, it's at least 1%. Most tribes will accept you if you have more than 1% Native American blood, because the way they view it is that 1% of that blood is stronger than the other 99% of the blood in your body.
Oh, wow.
A spiritual way they view it, that Native American blood is stronger, more powerful than any other race. So if you have more than 1% Native American blood, some tribes will accept you and give you a tribal card. What you need to do now that you got your DNA test, you need to document any stories that you can remember, any stories your grandma, your cousins, your aunt, niece, nephew, anything they ever remember about people talking about being Native American. I tell the same story all the time because the only person in our family that ever said we were part Native American was my grandmother. And, you know, my dad used to talk about it. And when you asked my grandmother what type of, Indian we were, she'd say, one of them mean sons of bitches. Yeah. My grandma chewed and dipped and all kinds of stuff. She was pretty tough. But, I mean, that was the only story. So what you're looking for is stories that would relate to somehow either in a time frame or in a certain area, you know, so they could put 2 and 2 together and figure out what tribe you're from, because they can't necessarily double check and see what tribe you're from just from the DNA. In some cases they can, but in some cases they can't. So you need to document all the stories, and then you take your DNA test and all the documented stories, and you look through your family tree and see what side you would guesstimate, you know, that part of the family came from, and when your dad was born where, and when your grandparents were born where, when your great-parents were born where, your grandparents were born where, and then you'll guesstimate which tribe you think you're from, and then you send the information to that tribe, and they take your DNA and your documents and your family tree, and they determine if they think you're from their tribe, and if they do, then they give you a tribal card, and you're now Native American.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay now?
I can hear you just fine.
Great. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, and I ought to do some research on the Native, because I know it's my great-great-grandmother that is from the Kickapoo tribe, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
And I couldn't believe it when I asked my aunt about it, so yeah. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to ask you about, I have, I've done a, you know, I've submitted my first proposal on a solicitation, and I should know something probably within 30 days, I imagine. Whenever it says archive date, is that the date that they should respond by?
No, the archive date is the date that they're going to archive it. They're going to take it off of FBO and put it in the archives.
I see. Okay. So, is there any idea, is there anything in there that you can look at that says how long they're going to take to make a decision on it?
Yeah, usually they'll specify in FBO. You've got several instructions to offer. The primary instructions to offer, 52.212-1, is the instructions on how they want you to submit your bid. 52.212-2 is how they're going to evaluate the bid. 52.212-3 is how they're going to award the bid. So they'll tell you what time they're going to guesstimate that they're going to choose the vendor and what time they're going to have you start the work, etc. 52.212-4 is how you can request a debriefing or do what is it called? A bid protest. So those are typically and those are usually in the synopsis and inside the documentation of each solicitation. Sometimes they'll give you a debriefing window. They give you a certain time frame that you're allowed to request a debriefing, and if you don't request it during that window, they're not going to send you one. All right.
Interesting.
Anybody else have a question or a bid, solicitation, proposal you want to work on today? Oh, I need to unmute everybody and see if we still got the echo. All right, testing. Oh, excellent. Okay. Anybody have a bid, proposal, solicitation to work on today or a question?
Yes, I have one, John.
Okay. Did you email it to me?
I did.
And what's your email?
Tracy Bird at crushing2.biz.
Okay, anybody who's not talking currently, if you guys could mute your phone so we don't hear the background noise, I'd appreciate it. Okay, so is it this solicitation number right here?
Hold on, I'm looking at mine as well. Let me see where you.
The FA81011?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's it. Yes.
Okay, and what questions did you have?
Basically, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 contract line items that they're requesting.
Okay.
And I guess my question is basically about the pricing as to how to go about pricing these items. I'm noticing that it's like a limited vendor selection that carries specifically what they're asking for. So I don't want to price myself out of the contract.
So you want to know how much you should charge?
Yes.
Okay.
To stay competitive.
No, I tell my clients to, 15, 20% minimum because you want to make money. I've had people bid 10% and won it. I didn't find out later they could have charged 20% and they still would have won it. I've seen profit margins as high as 100%, and I've seen businesses do contracts for 2 or 3% just to win it. But a lot of times when you do that, you'll find out later you could have gotten more. And have you guys seen that War Dogs movie? It's a prime example. The first contract they wore was something $80 million, but they found out in the grand scheme of things they could have charged $180 million. The government would have still bought it.
Yeah, it was like 51 million.
And they could have charged more, and the government would have still hired them. So it's a fine line. Obviously, you don't want to overprice yourself and not win, but you got to make money. If you go to YouTube and search how much should I charge, I have a video called How Much Should I Charge for Government Contracts, and it goes through all that. It's about a half an hour. It's a good explanation. Is that your only question on this one, is related to how much?
John, can you hear me? It appears as if though I lost my audio connection.
You're back now.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions? You got any other bids you want to work on?
Let me pull up the solicitation. I sent you another one. It's the bread one as well.
Okay.
And it's basically the same question. Like I said, from doing the research on some of the prices that's being offered, to stay competitive and to be a potential winner.
This one right here.
Yes. What all should I include in the response to this?
What you want to include when working on a bid is you're going to want to find the instructions to offer, and that's going to tell you detailed instructions on what they want you to include. So if you do a Control F,
okay,
word instructions, there's not one in the synopsis. It does say government reserves the right, blah, 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 advantageous, and will be posted on GSA's own website. Got to be registered in SAM. Got to have your F's and certs. They're not telling us anything there. Receipt of quote. So you have to email, fax or mail quotes are not acceptable. So we're going to go to the document, download it, wait for it to open, make it bigger so it's easier to read.
Okay.
Do a Control F, opens the find window, put in the word instructions. And it doesn't look like there's any instructions to offer, so we're going to make sure that this search window is actually working by putting in a word that we know is in there, like the, and it's not working because it's not an actual document. It's a photocopy of a document, so we can't do the search. So we're going to look and see if there's an index on here. Usually the second, third page down, there's our index.
Okay.
List of attachments, offer, representation certifications. There's no instructions to offer. So in this case, we got to actually look the document over. There's your schedule of supplies. That is what they want to buy. Why they put multiple zeros after the period, I don't know. That doesn't mean that there's 17 billion. They're trying to buy 17 billion of these. They want 17,600. And they put extras, I don't know. Okay, and why they leave intentionally blank pages, I don't know why they do that either. It doesn't make any sense.
Right, I see that a lot on these.
Yeah, a lot of times they'll do that.
Yeah.
See, 52.212-3 is...
So as far as putting my...
It's just telling you they need a copy of your Orca.
Okay. And the things that you're scrolling past, I don't have to check off on any of that because that's already in my search.
Correct. This is your reps and search. This is your SAM.
Right.
This is the old Orca, is what this is. So as long as you attach a copy. But see, there's no instructions on how they want you to submit your bid. So there's nothing in the document.
Okay.
There's nothing in the body.
No.
Response date is April 4th.
That's tomorrow.
The anticipated date of receipt of quotes is the 4th. Payment will be made electronic funds transfer. They're not telling us anything. So at this point, you can either email Wayne and ask him, how would you like me to submit this bid, or just assume that he's going to want you to send over, there's no standard form attached. Well, actually, there's a standard form attached, sorry. This is your standard form right here. So you're going to need to fill this out.
The 1449?
Yep.
Now, they already have the the discount terms already pre-populated for net 10?
Yep. They'll do that sometimes.
Is it a good idea that I leave that there or change it?
I'd leave it. You know, give them exactly what they're asking for. In this case, I would give them the standard documents for the instructions to offer 52.2 and 2-1. So cover page, signature page. You don't need an index page because you're not printing or mailing this. Copy of your refs and certs, standard form. Okay. Your technical proposal, which would be a brochure for each of those products. And
okay.
Let's see, what am I forgetting? Cover page, signature page, standard form, copy of your reps and certs, technical proposal, and the standard form, which is the same as the price proposal.
Okay.
That's it. Just email it to them. Label each document separately.
Mm-hmm.
If you need a cover page or a signature page, I have templates. Anybody that needs it, just email me and I'll send you a copy of it after the training.
Okay.
Any other questions?
John, I have a question for you.
No, that's basically all for that one.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I'm doing a lot of research in DIBS, and I have noticed that the solicitations that come across that are from the Defense Logistics Agency, they all basically put a part number in there and a quantity that they want. Well, whenever I go in to search for the part, you know, in the solicitation, a lot of times the government will actually put the companies that are approved sources for that part, okay? Well, here's what's a big catch to me is that all of these companies are small businesses. And when you go to their websites, it makes it look like you can enter the part number in there and they'll give you a quote on it, but most of the time they're going to bid on that part themselves because they're not out of the realm of 1,000 employees or 500 employees. They're like 40 and 50 employees.
Right.
So what is the secret or how do you penetrate those companies that deal with the DLA and those part numbers?
Some you're not going to be able to. If they can sell direct, they don't need you as a middleman. But some you can. I mean, and eventually they'll grow enough that they won't be a small business anymore. The contract that Herb won at Pyramid, the company that's supplying the petroleum is the same company that's held the contract for the last 20 years. But they can't do it anymore. They're too big. And I guess something happened and the purchasing agent wasn't happy with them, so he wasn't going to hire them anyway. And they knew this. So they told her, we're going to give you a better price than we charged the government last year, so you can still make a little money on it and be competitive. And they can still get the deal.
Because the transaction that I just submitted last week was from a company that's too large to actually bid on it. And whenever I called them, they were like, hey, that's great that you called us. We're willing to submit, you know, we're willing to work with you to submit a bid. And that was all fine and dandy. But these other NSA suppliers are like, man, you got a snowball's chance in hell of getting a deal out of here, bud.
Yeah.
So that was a kind of a awakening there whenever I went down that road.
Right, right. I mean, if it was like shooting fish in a barrel, everybody would be doing it.
I'm sorry?
If it was like shooting fish in a barrel, everybody would do it.
Exactly.
So it does require a little skill, which you guys have, you know.
Are those companies, do they bid on all of those contracts, or they're only able to do so many of them because to cover all the bases? Because normally the DLA puts out a lot of contracts on a lot of parts.
Yeah, DLA does do a lot of contracts, and they do a lot of them through Fed Connect and FedBid as well.
So basically, just starting out, I should probably leave those alone because they're just a little too, they've got too many people already in the the food chain for me to even get in on it right now.
Sometimes not. I mean, it's hit or miss. That's why I tell people you want to submit as many bids as possible. You want to run the numbers.
Right. Okay.
Right.
That answers that question.
Any other questions? Anybody else have a question or proposal, bid, solicitation to work on today?
Yeah, John, this is Richard McCarthy. I got a request for a quote from Peace Corps today, and I received it about 10 o'clock, and they needed the quote by 1 o'clock this afternoon. And as I was looking down through it, it was a huge job, required a lot of special handling and packaging. I ended up just emailing them and telling them that I couldn't quote it at this time, but generally how long do they give you before you have to submit a bid on that? I mean, just a few hours is enough time to accomplish what they wanted quoted.
Yeah, they typically put stuff out and give you, 15 to 30 days to respond. Everything's pretty much 30 days. 30 days to respond, 30 days to award, 30 days for you to complete, 30 days to get paid. So most solicitations are going to be put out at least 15 days in advance. It's not that common for them to do something like this unless they already had a previous vendor chosen and something fell through and they're looking for another vendor, so they're looking last minute.
Yeah, the contract was extended. I'm not sure if they didn't have any bidders on it. It was quite large. And I believe it was a 5-year contract is what Angela had told me.
Okay.
So I'm not really sure, but emailing them and asking or telling them I wasn't able to quote on it, but would be interested in future projects that they would have available. Is that the best way to do it?
Sure. Unless you got time to put a bid together, go ahead. Because if you've only got limited number of hours, so does everybody else.
It would have taken me almost a week just to quote that job.
Holy cow. Okay. Well, yeah, in that case, they don't know what they're purchasing, most likely.
Well, it wasn't the actual, it was the handling and the packaging of it that was the problem.
Gotcha. If they don't know this, then probably no one's going to bid on it because no one can get it done in a couple hours.
Not pricing it, I don't believe anybody could.
Gotcha. Any other questions?
I have an additional
I have one for you, John.
question, John.
Okay, ladies first.
Go ahead.
Okay, if you happen to come across something, a bid that you feel as if though you're capable of doing, but it's not in your notches code, can you still put that bid in?
Yes. Now the purchasing agent might say something different.
Okay.
They might tell you that you need to add that NAICS code in order to bid on it, or you have to have that NAICS code listed in your SAM in order for them to award it or for them to pay you, and they are in fact incorrect. Got to remember that purchasing agents do things based on their interpretation of the system and the rules, and one purchasing agent will do something one way and swear that that's the way it has to be done, and another one will do it completely opposite and swear that that's the way it has to be done. When you got a situation where a purchasing agent tells you have to have the NAICS code listed in your SAM or your FBO, send me an email in your case manager, add or CC me on it if you send it to your case manager so I can make sure it happens. And we'll just go ahead and add it. That way you don't lose the contract. And don't argue with the purchasing agent and tell them otherwise, because then you're just ruining your relationship with them. If a purchasing agent's wrong, and they're saying you have to have that NAICS code, I will prove them that they're wrong. I will argue with them and straighten them out. And the reason why I know this for a fact is because one of my clients, I got an article on my LinkedIn. One of my clients a couple of years ago won a contract, and one of his competitors did a bid protest and said that he shouldn't have won it because he didn't have that NAICS code listed in his SAM. This is the actual document from the Government Accountability Office stating that bid protest was in fact denied, and it denied it because you do not have to have a list of every NAICS code in your SAM that you're going to bid on, nor do you have to have it in FBO.
Okay.
So in that case, it wasn't the purchasing agent that was saying that. It was a competitor that was mad that my client won it. I recently was working with someone who bid on a contract, and they were told that he did a debriefing, and they told him that they didn't award it to him because he didn't have his NAICS code listed in SAM or in FBO. And that's why she didn't award it to him. So I sent this letter and also forwarded it to her, and then she replied very quickly with, "Oh, I'm sorry, that email wasn't meant for you. We didn't choose you because of pricing."
Oh.
She changed her story real quick.
Real quick. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Any other questions?
John, I have a question for you. Did you, I think I heard you say a while back that if a solicitation pops out and the response is due the next day, is that pretty much going to somebody already and they're just going through the motions, or what did you comment on the solicitations like that?
Could be. If they post it like 4:30 at night and it's due the next morning, I mean, that sounds a little fishy. They're not giving you time to reply. But I've seen them post stuff first thing in the morning, and within 2 hours they get 6 responses. They'll archive it immediately, and you wouldn't even know it because your searches don't run until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. If they're posting something late in the evening and it's due first thing in the morning, unless, if you can get a quote together in a few minutes, then go ahead and do it. But if it's something that you don't have time to get the quote together, then don't bother with it. You don't have time.
Yeah.
All right.
Got it.
Any other questions? Anybody else got a question, bid, solicitation, proposal to work on?
John, I have a question. It's Earlene. I sent you an email.
Got it.
Can you just explain what that term means? I've seen that on quite a few different solicitations I've reviewed. I'm trying to determine, like, in terms of the date, is that they want it by 170 days or
Correct.
138 days? Okay.
Right. And this is the approved vendor that you can buy it from.
Okay.
You can pop their cage number in Binks.
So they're telling you exactly where they want it, the vendor that they want to supply it, or they want you to purchase it from.
Correct.
Great, okay.
Wartzilla Defense.
Perfect. So you can just ask them to give you a quote on the item.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else got a question, bid, solicitation, proposal?
Hey, John, this is Darren Eby.
Yes.
I sent you a link there to the solicitation. It's kind of related to what you were just talking about just now, about items that they list the specific item number and the specific manufacturer of that item.
All right.
You don't really have a choice of who you can buy it from. But so when I requested a quote for this item, they actually denied me a quote, and it's probably because, like you were talking earlier, it's probably because they're going to bid it on them. They're going to bid it on it themselves. But it doesn't seem like a company like this, though, would be classified as a small business.
Either that, or they've got a network of small businesses that they already work with.
Yeah, that's true. But like if you go to the link in there, where it says additional info, DLA Land and Maritime, it gives you a link, and then eventually you get to a document, and it lists all of the previous awardees, all the previous winners of the bids in the past year or so, or a couple years.
Right.
It's the same one every time. So it doesn't even seem like, if I find something like this in the future, I guess I just won't waste my time on it, because it doesn't seem like you'd even have a chance of winning.
Yeah, I mean, I go after the easier stuff first, go after the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
I'm out right here. This is the same vendor.
Yep.
Same
Right there.
vendors charged them as little as $8 and as much as $39 for the same product.
Yep.
And they charged them $39.
$39? Oh, wow.
In 2015 for $3,800, and then charged them way less in 2016 for $4,200.
Yeah. And when they emailed me this morning, they said, "Thanks for your request. Unfortunately, we will not be able to provide pricing on this item, and we will have to issue a no bid." And they didn't really give a reason why.
They probably have a distributor that's probably the distributor that primary manufacturer is working with.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up since we were talking about it.
Wow, I guess D&Bs might be parting their partnership with the government. I just heard about this morning in the training that, who is it? HUD's having a problem invoicing or paying vendors through their DUNS number. They might be eliminating the DUNS number altogether. That's pretty crazy. Any other questions?
John, I have one more question. I hear you keep referencing low-hanging fruit.
Yes.
Can you give me some examples of the low-hanging fruit and where to go shopping for them?
Your smaller contracts, doing subcontract work. I get some vendors, a lot of times with security, I'll have people come to me wanting to do security contracts, and they want to start out with an embassy. They want to do a $13 billion contract to start. Start with smaller, easier stuff. Start with contracts that only have one attachment. You're talking armed security at an embassy has 38 documents you got to review. And they want, they want everything, including the kitchen sink, to be submitted. It's literally. And I got, I sent over my armed security contracts. I put together a master list of requirements for armed security contracts a couple of years ago.
Okay.
This is that master list. This is everything that could be required on an armed security contract.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. It's armed security. It's more complicated, especially if you're protecting overseas military facility or in that case, I just said it and I can't remember. I don't know what's going on with my brain today. An embassy, an overseas embassy.
An embassy.
If you don't have any past performance, you don't want to start with the biggest contract that exists.
Right.
You want to start with smaller, easier contracts. Get your feet wet. Build up your past performance. All right.
Okay. I guess I'm shopping in the wrong stores, because a lot of these contracts on vet-biz, I'm assuming these are some of the smaller ones to sort of kind of help get the feet wet in the past performance. But by that system being set up as a reverse auction, it's just bare minimum.
I stay away from FedBid and FedConnect because they are nickel and diming you. It's a reverse auction. They want to know who's going to be the absolute cheapest. You know, but some of your commodities, they only put commodities through FedBid and FedConnect. You know, but you see
Yeah, I'm noticing. I'm noticing a lot of them that are actually posted on FBO, but they're ending up on FedBiz.
Yeah, they all start in FBO, but sometimes it'll redirect you to FedBid or FedConnect.
Hey, John, I got a question to piggy off of the low-hanging fruit.
Yes.
What would be considered low-hanging fruit for the IT section of it? Because for the IT, I have to write a technical solution most times, and just writing it alone doesn't seem like a low-hanging fruit, and most times, you know, still less than 25,000 or whatever. By the time I start to write it, you know, it's already 2 weeks gone, you know, but, you know, it just kind of, I know you also suggested that prime contractors, would that be the best way to go about?
Yeah, you know, start out going after primes and marketing to them is to do subcontract work.
Even if you don't have past performance work?
Yeah, I mean, subcontracts count as past performance, and when you do a subcontract for a prime, sometimes the purchasing agent knows who you are because the prime has to disclose it. And they might come to you next year and ask you to bid on it directly, so it's a good way to get in, too. Okay.
Hey, also another question with that. You mentioned one time value-added reseller. Is that the same as a mentor-protege program?
No.
Okay.
No, a VAR or value-added reseller is someone who sells a product or service, but they somehow add value to it, like they include training or something else.
Okay.
We have VARs that resell our services. So, for example, I have a client who's she's an accountant, and she's got 500 clients that she does accounting for. Well, when her clients come to her and say, "Hey, we want to sell to the government," she'll sell my services to her clients. And I service them, but she adds value by putting another layer of customer service in there, you know.
Okay. Makes sense.
So she's what's considered a VAR to our program. And I got quite a few attorneys that do that. I had a girl about 2 years ago. Excuse me. She saw my videos. She wanted to try and broker. She submitted a few bids, didn't win any. She has this small business meeting she goes to every month where small businesses get together and discuss issues and blah, blah, blah. And her first small business meeting, she was telling them about our services, and she actually signed up 2 people for our services, and she charged them $2,000. So she made $4,000 that day just giving them our services. And I trained them and helped them win bids and all that. So she just started selling our services from then on out. She actually closed her business and just sells our services now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anybody interested in being a VAR, let me know, because there's plenty of options, plenty of opportunities out there. You look at the grand scheme of things, there's only 160,000 small businesses in SAM. There's 30 million small businesses in the U.S. So it's less than 1% of the market that's taken right now.
So I never did IT with the commercial side of it, but do you think there's more benefit on the government side? Just the overall general opinion?
What was the question again?
You know, you think, since you mentioned that, you think there's I never did IT on the commercial side, but do you think it's more benefit on the government side, the federal government side, than it is on the, because it seems like there's a lot of red tape just going through the proposals and, writing the proposals. So I'm just wondering what's your opinion, general opinion on it.
Well, IT and security, you're talking, these are areas that are highly, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of data. Not that they're saturated, not that there's a lot of competition. You're going to have a lot of data in those bids, because it's detailed information.
Right.
Not like you're buying sand. There's only silica. That's it. It comes in a certain grain and certain colors from a certain mine, and that's it. With IT, you've got so many different factors involved. But at the same time, the more complicated it is, the less people are going to bid on it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Any other questions?
Yeah, John, this is Richard again. I'm new with this whole thing here. Could you run through how I go about looking for new opportunities?
How to find stuff to bid on?
Yeah.
You're going to want to set up your searches in FBO. So you should have an account in FBO. Your case manager would have set one up. You want to email your case manager and ask them. CC me on it. I'll make sure it happens. They'll set an account up for you in FBO, and you just go in and create searches by keyword that run automatically.
Okay, well, I tried printing, and it came up with 0 results.
You tried printing what?
Just the word printing.
There's 991 contracts in the system under printing.
Okay, I guess I didn't do it right.
If you're going to want to set up your searches
Maybe
by
I didn't
keyword.
word it right. Yeah, I'm going to have to put another...
If you're searching in your FBO that your case manager set up for you, they set up a NAICS search. So when you search by keyword, it's using the NAICS code and the keyword.
Okay.
Go to YouTube. And search FBO how to or FBO search. I think it comes up under both of them. This video right here is mine, John Wayne, and it shows you how to set up your searches by keyword automatically.
Okay. Okay, great.
I think that one does too. Yeah, both of these do. All right. Any other questions? Can you guys still hear me?
Yep, we hear you.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Looks like I'm still in. Darren, can you hear me? Arlene, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yep, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Check
You're up.
1, 2, 3 testing.
Yep.
1, 2, 3 testing. Check. Can you hear me?
We can hear each other, right?
Hello?
I can hear.
Yep, I can hear you, John.
I know I'm still showing people.
I hear you.
I hear you.
Are you there,
Lou.
John?
And I'm still showing
John?
audio.
I think we can all hear each other.
Let me try
Yeah, I can hear
pausing
you
you
guys.
guys and then unpausing you. Okay, how about now?
I can hear you, John.
I
Okay,
can
We
hear
hear
you.
you.
Oh, what the heck's going on?
Maybe he turned the volume down on his computer accidentally or something.